Okay guys, so in today's video I'm going to talk about behind the bows. So to look or to not look, that's always the question, right? We've got people out there who will tell you to go ahead and look. You want to make sure you're not on there. You want to shut down fake news, la la la. And then on the other side, you've got people who will say don't look. You don't want to cause yourself further anxiety, la la la. Which also will cause anxiety because then you're going to wonder, am I on there? So, we're also going to talk about CGL. Let's be real, we know that all these exist. If you're into Lolita fashion for any length of time, or heck, people I have heard of that are too afraid to get into Lolita fashion, they know more about Behind the Bows or CGL than people who sometimes are in it. So I think it's important we talk about it. So this video, just so you know, is my hot take on what should be done about it, or what my policy is, or how I handle it. And hopefully there's a little nugget of wisdom in it for anyone else who's in Lolita fashion who wonders what they should do about it, or if they should look or not look. So, I don't know. It's more or less just me rambling my opinion, and you don't have to agree with me. In fact, if you have your own viewpoint or something that's helped you, I'd love to hear about it in the comments. So, yeah, let's just get into what I do about dealing with all of that. Okay, so first off, let's get comfy, because if we're going to talk about something as anxiety-ridden as Behind the Bows, might as well get comfy. Where are you at? Let's just spruce the place up a little bit, as I like to say. Gotta deal with our suffering by dressing it up and making it look cute. Complete. Okay, so let's get into this. Behind the Bows. Where do I even start? Maybe I'll just start with my own story. I'll do my own recounting of what I've done over the years. So, when I first got into Lolita fashion, I guess I was lucky or something, but I didn't actually know anything about online bullying in the Lolita community. I didn't know about Behind the Bows. I didn't know about CGL. I basically went from having friends in high school to not many friends in college, and therefore I was looking for a community to join that I felt just I could be a part of. And so I had never really been part of any kind of community, so therefore I didn't realize that there could be toxicity and bullying and shaming in basically all forms of communities. I'm pretty sure if I'd been in any online community, like the cosplay community or something, which would have been the next closest one I could have been in, because I did do cosplay for about 10 years before I got into Lolita, I would have known or seen it coming, or perhaps had even heard about Behind the Bows, but I didn't. So since I didn't know about all this stuff, it wasn't until I went to a Halloween meetup that I heard about Behind the Bows. And I remember asking a fellow Lolita, I was like, what is that? And she basically said, oh, it's like a place where a bunch of people post a bunch of secrets about people online. They just post, usually after meetups or things like that, they'll go and they'll gossip and they'll post about each other. And I remember at the time, because I was so new to the fashion, at first I didn't think much of it, so I didn't really look at it or anything. And then, out of curiosity, while I was still fairly new, I decided to give it a look. And the reason why I gave it a look was, one, because negativity draws curiosity for most people, which is very unfortunate, but true. And then the other thing was because I'd previously liked this one website that was called Why Would You Draw That? And it was because when I did used to be part of, I guess, some form of community, it was the drawing community, but it was more or less just I was on DeviantArt, you know what I mean? As we all were when we were like between 11 and 15, I guess, who were really into drawing. You know, DeviantArt was the place to go. And so basically I would like to read this blog called Why Would You Draw That? And I got sort of a similar vibe from it, so I didn't think much of it, or I didn't even really constitute it as bullying at first, until I realized that, you know, this stuff wasn't just being talked about random people or things like that. I mean, yes, it was being talked about with random people. This was just being talked about with anyone, which means that even I could be talked about on there. And that's where that first little bit of anxiety will start to seep in, if you choose to look at it. So, for me, at first I would read the Behind the Bows updates here and there, but like I said, I was fairly new to the fashion. I felt like I had a really good comm. I had a really nice comm, so I didn't really have any anxieties about it or insecurities or feeling like, uh-oh, I'm going to get posted. So at first it didn't feel very much. But over the years, like when I started building a fashion brand in Lolita, I was often told to not look at behind the bows or CGL. I was often warned against it. In fact, sometimes I was straight up, most of the time, it was very unhelpful actually. I was warned against looking at CGL or behind the bows after I had done a major event or after I had participated in a meetup. And I was told this by people who thought they were helping me because they were actually trying to warn me against looking because there was something posted about me. So the irony was, by telling me not to look when I already wasn't looking that often, it was instilling more anxiety in me because now I already had a confirmation that I was posted somewhere, but I'm also being told not to look. So being that I'm an adult, and that should have totally been something that I acknowledged was my choice whether or not I wanted to do, I did still periodically look even when I was told not to, or sometimes I wouldn't look when I was told not to. But either way, I can say that if you have a friend that you saw got posted behind the bows or CGL, it does not benefit to tell them, don't look at the updates this week, don't look at behind the bows, because all you're doing is just verifying in this person's mind that they have been posted. And if they haven't been posted and you just always tell them out of habit, don't look, you still might be instilling anxiety in them to make them believe that they are posted. But because you're telling them what to do either way, and if they choose to listen to that, then, you know, it's not helpful, is the thing I basically learned. So when did this all change for me? I basically stopped looking at behind the bows the minute that Truly Darling went under. So about 2 years ago, my business went under around the time that I basically realized it was not financially viable to keep it going. The market was changing a lot with Lolita. There was a lot more Chinese brands coming in, and they were being able to bring in Lolita for a lot cheaper. So I know that the alterations aspect of my business was doing fairly well, but I did have to keep my prices extremely low in order to be able to satisfy the market. And since I kept them low enough that I couldn't live off of that wage for the amount of labor I was doing, I opted against keeping the business. Around that time, I was aware that by announcing that I was shutting down my business, and especially the drama that had happened in the prior year, that there was a good chance that people were going to be talking about Truly Darling on Behind the Bows, CGL. They might be talking about me personally. And I can tell you what I did in that situation as well. And that was, I didn't look. And it wasn't because someone told me not to look. It's because I actively made a choice to say, I'm not going to look anymore. If that's the place in which people dedicate that they would like to put their bullying, then okay. That is their outlet. That is where they're going to be throwing that hate. And it's one of those things where I might not have power over people choosing to say negative things about me, but I have power over two things. One, not going and spouting off more hate as a result of reading it, which just basically perpetuates the hate cycle, people. Like, in the end, that's what it does, and so it doesn't help anybody. And two, the other thing is that I can control whether or not I choose to consume that kind of negativity or have it in my life or choose to just read it. Because I think that it's really important, especially for young girls who really like to get into Lolita. I'm talking, I don't know how young girls are getting into Lolita fashion anymore. I guess between 16 and your early 20s, it's still pretty difficult to have a really strong sense of identity when you're getting into this fashion. And because everyone makes mistakes when they're new, or everyone's got their own little quirks or social anxieties, we're all going to be a little weird. And so since we're all going to be a little weird, then there's going to be other people who are not going to vibe well with that, or they're going to decide that they need to be judgmental about it. And, you know, when you realize that everyone decides that they're going to have their opinion and some people choose that they want to post it online, you can just choose to unsubscribe from it, basically. You can say, I don't want to subscribe. I don't want to subscribe to that kind of negativity. And it's mainly just because it's not good for your perception of the fashion, especially if you love the fashion and you got into it for the friends that you've made and for the love of the dresses that you're wearing, or for the love of the events and community meetups that you go to. You know, if you're in it for that community feeling and bonding, then it's a good thing that in the 21st century we can choose to unsubscribe from the witch burning, basically, because back in the day people couldn't, you know? And so let's not torment ourselves, basically, is what I say. And I just say unsubscribe. Act like it doesn't even exist. Act like it's not even there. And I can tell you, okay, I can tell you, for those out there who are addicted to the drama, if you are saying, but my anxiety's too high and I just want to make sure I'm not posted and I did this thing last week and I drank my tea weird and some girl is going to notice, I can tell you, I know what that's like, and it was really hard at first, okay? I shut down an entire business, and I knew that that would come with probably some people having some kind of say about it. And it was really hard not to want to read what people were saying, because I cared. I cared probably too much, you know? So coming from the point of view of somebody who has been there, and I know how hard it is to unsubscribe from the drama, it has done me a world of help. It has relieved me of a lot of anxiety and physical pain I've received from it. I developed chest pain as a result of my anxiety, and I hadn't realized that until after I had seen doctors and therapists and things like that to learn, wow, part of what came from the business I owned and the community I put myself in was some anxiety that I had ramped up in myself that wasn't originally there when I had gone into it with this pure intention of just wanting to make friends. Because that's all we want to do, right? We want to dress in a fashion we love and we want to make friends. I'm just saying, you know, if you start off and you just need to check behind the bows, let me tell you, maybe don't go cold turkey. If you're really, really obsessed with the drama and your anxiety is really high about it, maybe just go from checking it once a week to checking it once a month, or maybe only twice a month, and then go down to checking it once every few months, and then and that's only if you still feel the urge. If you don't feel an urge after a month to check it, don't. And give yourself a pat on the back, okay? Because that's good. You're doing good for yourself. I can say, as someone who has felt an extreme low after coming out of my business and trying to make something of myself again, I had such an extreme low in terms of like kind of a disdain for Lolita fashion that I had never had before. I had been someone who just was a front pioneer of believing in the fashion and what it did for girls, and just always found something good in it, because I'm an optimistic person. Like, I'm naturally an optimist. So I was one of those people that didn't realize that I pushed down any kind of negativity I'd felt for years and years and years about the fashion, until I realized one day, no, actually I wasn't pushing it down. I was letting it get to me. I let it consume me, because once I shut down Truly Darling, I would say the year after, I couldn't even look at my dresses. I couldn't muster up the courage to go to meetups. I couldn't do any of it. And a lot of it had to do with feeling like, wow, I'm going to go to a meetup and it's just going to get people talking about me online again, whether I subscribe to it or not. And that's not the way we want to participate in a fashion. So I can say now I have a lot healthier relationship with the fashion, and I realize it's just a fashion, which has given me the freedom to choose to wear it when I want to, even if I don't have meetups to go to, even if I'm not part of a comm, even if I am part of a comm, even if I decide I want to go to a meetup or whatever. I can choose to wear it on my own whenever I want, and the freedom of feeling that, and the freedom of feeling like, wow, I can wear it and it really won't matter if I go and I post this video, or I go and I go to a meetup, or talk to a friend that I haven't talked to in a long time in the fashion, that it won't matter because I've unsubscribed from that. And I'm not saying it's completely unavoidable. If there's haters out there who want to hate, they will throw hate where I can see it. You know, they'll go and they'll throw it on this video or something. And if they feel like that's what they need to do, then that's what they need to do. And it's not about me saying that I am somehow safe spacing myself. You know what I mean? This is not about that. It's just about saying, well, what does it give me? How does it benefit me? Because, hold on. When you're in something as simple as just a fashion, and you're part of a fashion community, then you kind of realize it doesn't have to be a make or breaker. It doesn't have to be your entire life. You know, it doesn't have to be all that stuff. You can choose how much you want to be in this or not. And being someone who actually ran a business in it, I can tell you that I think my love of the fashion got a lot, I would say it died a lot quicker than for girls who never owned a business in the fashion and didn't subscribe to the drama. So I can say if there was anything I could do to go back, it would not be to not own a business in Lolita fashion, but it would have just been to unsubscribe from the drama, because the business itself did great things for people. It helped people, and I would never take that back. But the negativity that I chose to subscribe to with just some of the toxic communities online were not where I wanted my head to be at when I was helping people, you know? So that's the one thing I probably would have taken back. I hope that you understand that whether you have ever been posted to Behind the Bows or CGL, or whether you have never been posted to any of these platforms, or maybe this is the first time you're hearing about it, I hope just understand that it is a normal human response to be drawn to negativity. I watched this whole TED Talk that explained that we have a tendency to hyper-focus on the negative because our brains are taught that the negative indicates there's something that needs to be fixed, and the positive gets ignored because it seems like there's nothing broken. But when it comes to people's opinions online, and especially if they're negative, since everyone has a different life perspective growing up and they have different things going on in their own lives, and most of the time people are spouting hate because they're not meeting their own needs, it's hard to see that, and especially if you're not aware of it. So understand that it's a normal human response if you're drawn to the negativity, but you don't have to let it consume your life. You don't have to choose to subscribe to it, and it might not be as action-packed or drama-ridden or interesting to hear that, you know, Lolita fashion can be all fun and it can be all happy-go-lucky, because I mean, also that's not 100% true, you know? But it's one of those things where when I think of places like Behind the Bows or CGL, so say like you go to a tea meetup, there's some girl and she's sipping her tea weird, you know, I don't know. Even that to me is like not worth even noting, but I don't know. Say like some girl goes to a meetup and, you know, she's wearing, let's go like really ridiculous with this, just so I can make a point. Say like you go to a meetup and some girl is wearing like cargo pants with like a cutso, you know, so she's not really even wearing the fashion properly or something like that. And it might be something where you notice it and you go, that's a little odd, or she's not really wearing that right. You've got a few different options in that situation. You can choose to just let it go because it's not that big of a deal. It's the one weird thing of the day. You know what I mean? It can be weird in the moment, and a few minutes later you can forget about it, or the next day you can forget about it. Or you can choose to tell the person. You can go over to them and say, hey, this is a Lolita fashion meet. You know, did you read the guidelines to make sure that what you're wearing is appropriate? There's nothing wrong with that either, especially if it's something where it's your meetup that you're hosting and you had a dress code. So say like that's the incident. But when you've got either yourself or someone else decides that they're going to publicize that little tidbit about that person at that meet and take a picture of them, or even maybe not take a picture, just post a comment, post some kind of blurb about that incident, you are more or less, you're giving that moment that was just a moment in time that was maybe uncomfortable or weird, or just maybe it wasn't appropriate for the meetup. You're giving it not only a platform, but you're immortalizing it forever. And whether you're the person who wrote it or whether you're the person who chooses to subscribe to it. And what it ends up doing is it becomes a sort of like a pseudo memory for people who weren't there, and then they feel like they've got a reason to comment on it or say something about it. Or whether you were there, and if you were there, then what you're doing is you're being re-reminded of something that bothered you. Or if you're the person posting it, you are re-reminding yourself of something that bothered you. And why would you want to do that? You know, that's not good for you. And if you think that it'll make the person who did it stop doing it by publicly shaming them, it doesn't. Because something that I've learned recently is that publicly shaming someone might look like it works, but half the time the reason why businesses will fix what they do if they've been publicly shamed or something like that is because it is good PR, it's good publicity. And not even all of them do the right things, you know? They don't always make the right call on that. But the other thing that it happens when you publicly shame someone is it creates a lasting impact on the person to not have the ability to properly look at themselves, realize what they did wrong, and not do it again. In fact, what it'll probably do is more or less discourage them from improving or getting better. And in a fashion, we should be teaching people how to do it right, not shaming them into doing it right, because there's no such thing. You can't shame someone into doing something right. They will probably give up. It'll probably crush their self-esteem. They might do it right, but then they're going to be coming back with a vengeance doing it right, and you don't want any of those things. You know what I mean? So in the end, when you look at it, just always ask yourself, what's the benefit? How does it benefit me? And you might say that maybe Behind the Bows or CGL is your daily dose of entertainment. Maybe that's how you say it benefits you. Or maybe you say it benefits you because you feel good after reading it. Or maybe you say your anxiety goes down because you realize you're not on there. And those are all just temporary fixes. They're like Band-Aids. It's basically becoming an unhealthy coping strategy that will not benefit you in the long run, because you're more or less a slave to it. You're a slave to needing to subscribe in order to get your entertainment, feel better, or decrease your anxiety. And doesn't mean you're actually in control, you know? So just keep those things in mind, especially if you're struggling with letting go of it. I can tell you I've let go of it, and I've been a lot happier for it, and I don't plan on ever looking at it again, but I will remain in the fashion, and I like to remain in the fashion, because it's just clothing, you know? It's just clothing, and it's just community. So hopefully that helped you guys, and I'd like to know what you guys have done in order to help yourself with anxiety in the community, or what has helped yourself with unsubscribing from unnecessary drama so you can keep loving this fashion as well. Drop me a comment down below, and thanks guys. A few more things before I go. I would like to talk to you guys about the 2 comics that I have made. So if you like comic books and you want to read some actual entertainment that has to do with Lolita, you can check out Dark Tales of Lolita. This is all manufactured drama, but it is also horror. So if you want something that's a little bit scary, and then there's also some bonus art in the back from when I used to have Truly Darling, you can go ahead and check this out. I have it on Amazon. So yeah, it's called Dark Tales of Lolita, and I will have links for these items down in the description below. The other comic I just got finished making recently is called E.T. Girl. This is volume 1 of E.T. Girl. So if you like sci-fi, retro sci-fi, things like that, this one will probably be up your alley. It's about a girl who got abducted by aliens. So yeah, if you've read Dark Tales of Lolita or anything like that, or if you just like retro sci-fi, you'll probably like this. So yeah, feel free to check this out. This is going to be up on Lulu. It won't be on Amazon. I had to go through a different publisher. It's a whole other story. I'll go into it. Yeah. But yeah, I'll have a link to this one down in the description below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching my video. I hope this helped you guys out. I hope it gave you a little bit of hope if you're in that place where you're just stuck on it, or maybe you're just feeling low. Just remember, you can always unsubscribe from the drama. You can unsubscribe from the fashion for a while if you want to. I took a whole year off, and I can tell you I'm a lot better for it. So hopefully it gave you guys a little bit of wisdom, little words of wisdom or whatever. Okay, I'll see you guys. Bye.